Hello and welcome to the one, the only Welsh Watch podcast. The Welsh Watch podcast is brought to you by second year sports journalism students. I'm your host, Ben Thomas. I'm joined by Lee.
Hello, everyone.
Tom.
Hi, how you doing?
Ben.
Hi.
And Jack.
Hello.
This podcast will be all about Welsh football. We'll be talking about the players in the lead up to the Euros. We'll be talking about the games that have just gone on and the rest. We'll see what happens there. In today's show, we'll be talking about the international break, so who Wales have played and how they played in the games. We'll be talking about the transfer window, so all the come-ins and go-ins, and then we'll talk about maybe who is in the next team. Should we go on with it?
Yeah, let's go.
Go on then. So boys, let's just get straight into it then. Let's talk about the most recent international break. Obviously, we played England, lost 3-0. Played Ireland in Dublin, drew 0-0 in a very boring game. And then we beat Bulgaria in the Nations League 1-0 away. What do you think? I'll go straight to you, Lee. What do you think about the games?
Well, I saw the England game. I must stress, viewers, I am the only England fan here. I got to say, you are awful against us. Again, 3-0. Your defending was shocking. I think that's quite a concern, but I can let you off as you did not have your two big stars, which obviously gives you a setback at the start of the game. And the other games, again, you were, especially the 0-0 game, like you said, you were quite boring. But again, you didn't have Ramsey or Bale, so I don't think you clicked. But it's only October, so you've got time until the Euros.
I'll talk about the England game for a minute. Tom, what did you think about the defensive display?
Oh, it was a bit of shambles, weren't it? Obviously, we did all right in the first half with RODON and Metham at centre-back. And then took RODON off at half-time, brought on... Was it Cabango that we brought on?
I think it might have been, yeah.
And then it just sort of went to pot at the corners. Nobody really seemed to know who they were meant to be picking up. And England players were just unmarked in the middle of our penalty area. It's not really what you want 10 months out from an international tournament. But yeah, there was enough positive signs, especially in the Bulgaria game with the young players, to suggest that we should be hopefully all right come the Euros, in my opinion.
Ben, what did you think about the Ireland game? Obviously 0-0, quite a boring affair. What was your thoughts?
The Ireland game, yeah, it wasn't a great game for viewers. And although, it wasn't good, it was still a clean sheet on the road. We're still unbeaten in the Nations League so far. And there were some bright signs. Players like David Brooks, he still did very well. Didn't play the full game, I don't think, but I noticed he did well. And you've still got these other players who, even in games where we're not playing great, you still have individual good performances, which at least is a sign of good things for Giggs when he's picking his squad. So we're still unbeaten. The game wasn't great, but there were positive signs, I think.
So the Bulgaria game, a tough game away from home, Bulgaria. It's never an easy place to go, one of those games. It's always one where you can slip up. But Jack, what did you think about the 1-0 win?
Well, I thought it was brilliant for us to steal it at the end, but it was it was a tough game to watch, really. But to see us coming away with a win at the end, with Williams right at the end, it's definitely an improvement from the last two games, especially bagging a goal at the end. But as the other boys said, it is early days. But yeah, with what Ben said, Giggs can look at these last few games and take from this, to look for the future, coming up for the next few months closer to the Euros, to see who he wants to pick for the next squad. But yeah, I think with the Bulgaria game, it was great that we got a win, and it was a good way to end it, I think.
Nico Williams was brilliant in that game as well.
Yeah, he was.
Do you think the last two games show that you can play without your two main stars.
It does, but it's difficult. You could see without Ramsey in the middle, the second Ramsey came back, you could tell the difference straight away. We were all of a sudden creating chances, and although it wasn't a strong performance, we were still better with them. But going forward, you see all the players we got, like Ampadu. The more he grows at Sheffield United, the more he plays, the stronger he'll get in the middle, the more we'll progress. And like you say, it's a young team, and going forward, I think it's only positives really. Obviously, we're going to struggle against teams like England at Wembley, and for such a young team, it's a tough place to go, and it's a tough place to go for anyone. As experienced as you can be, Wembley's always a difficult place to play. And then, obviously, going forward, I think there's a lot of positives you can take.
And obviously, no disrespect to any of the boys in the squad, but Ramsey and Bale are still a cut above everybody else.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah,
see
like
There are.
you can see
Well,
that.
there are. Yeah, I keep. But no, there are players who are moving up onto their level. There are players who are getting closer to their level. But I agree. There is no one quite there yet. And we've got almost a completely new midfield at the moment with players like Morel and Levitt and all that starting to play as well. So even Bale and Ramsey cut above the rest at the moment. But come the Euros, there are the other player like I don't know, Dan James, Harry Wilson, who could gradually start getting closer.
So from this most recent international break, are there any players that you saw as positive signs or any negative signs? For me personally, Connor Roberts stood out, but not in a good way.
What, in that Nico Williams should be starting over him, or you just don't think Connor Roberts is a starter in the first place?
He just didn't look up to it. But was there anyone else?
You can see the difference.
Yeah, definitely. Was there anyone else for you lads that you thought stood out in a positive or negative way?
I personally thought a couple of the young midfielders looked decent. Matty Smith looked decent from what I saw of him. And obviously Joe Morel has been in and around the squad for a while and he's always looked decent. I think recently he sort of looked like he's capable of making a bit of a step up as well.
Yeah, he does need to work on his passing though.
Yeah. I think it was nice for Levitt to get some more game time. Especially with, I know there's a lot of youngsters playing, more game time for them, especially with the build-up. I think it was brilliant that the squads at gigs shows, especially with Ramsey and Bale coming into the team. I think I'll just boost confidence for everyone.
Well, we'll move on now to the most recent transfer window. Obviously, there are a lot of comings and goings in terms of Wales players, but the most obvious one you've got that happened on deadline day, Harry Wilson, moved from Liverpool to Cardiff. In my opinion, it's a brilliant signing.
Cardiff fan as well, some of us.
What do you think? What do you think? I'll go to you, Ben.
I'm ecstatic with the signing. I would never have guessed at the start of the window that we would get someone of his level. He's probably he's already moved to one of our best players, I'd say. Only seen him for not even a full game the other day, and he looks good. His passing's good. We know that he can score, and I'm really excited to see him play even more. And all it'll do is boost his chances of playing at the Euros.
Yeah. On that topic, how much do you think that'll boost his chances of going into the Euro 2021 squad? What do you think, Lee?
I think it's going to be really important for him if he gets game time, and he's going to get into that squad if he plays, because I think he's probably one of your best players. And to go into that Cardiff team as arguably one of Cardiff's best players, he's going to have a good season. He should have a good season, and that should be very promising for Wales going into the Euros. Because you saw him at Bournemouth last year, and he was really good and deserved to be in the Wales squad. Deserved to even play for Liverpool. He's unlucky that he's behind players such as Mo Salah, Shaqiri, Mane. So yeah, I'm chuffed for him to get the move to Cardiff, and I think it's probably the best move he could have got.
Jack, were you expecting the move to Cardiff?
Certainly not. I did not expect Wilson to join Cardiff. But it was a brilliant surprise on deadline day. I think he'll fit into the squad. He'll be brilliant for Cardiff. And as well, with what Lee was saying, the more game time he'll get now, which I think he has so much potential, as everyone knows. Seeing him at Bournemouth, he was brilliant. Hopefully he can do the same for Cardiff this season. So yeah, if he has a good season with us, I think going into the Euros, it'll be looking good for him.
Do you think he'll make that Euros team, Tom?
Yeah, and obviously, given he's going to be playing week in, week out at Cardiff, it gives him an opportunity to even push himself into probably the starting 11 as well, because obviously Dan James is probably the person that's in possession of the shirt when everybody's fit and available. You got Bale, Kieffer, and then Dan James. But obviously, James doesn't play week in, week out at United. If Wilson is playing week in, week out at Cardiff and doing well, then it will open Giggs' eyes and it's a chance for Harry Wilson to say, pick me in the team over Dan James, because I'm in form and he's not necessarily.
You just mentioned Gareth Bale, so we'll go on to talk about his new teammate, Joe Rodon. Signed from Swansea. Obviously, you two are Tottenham fans. What are your thoughts on the move?
I think it's a good move. I think it might be a year too early, mainly because I don't believe he's going to get the game time at Tottenham. Looking at Tottenham centre-backs now, you have Toby Alderweireld, Davinson Sanchez, Eric Dyer, Japhet Tanganga. I know he's had a good season for Swansea, but is he really going to break into that first team? Yes, he may learn alongside those players and become a better player, but is he going to play in, week out? I don't think so. And I think he could really suffer from that going into the Euros. So hopefully not. Hopefully he does settle in really well and plays well and even gets in the starting 11 every week. But I think it could be a struggle going into the Euros.
Yeah, for me, obviously, the fact that he's going to be training around better players week in, week out. I mean, he's going to be up against Harry Kane in training every week. So that's naturally going to make him a better player. But as you said, Lee, I think given Cabango, Tom Lockyer, Chris Metham are going to be playing week in, week out, again, it comes down to that form thing of if Rodon's not playing every week for us, then his match sharpness isn't going to be as high when it comes to the Euros, and it gives the other boys in the Championship a chance to jump above him in the pecking order just based on how they're performing week in, week out.
For me personally, I think the move for Rodon is a brilliant move. And it's in terms of coaching for me. At Swansea, obviously, they have brilliant training facilities and brilliant coaching. But at Spurs, it's just another 3, 4, 5 levels above. He'll be around the best players, some of the best players in the world, not the greatest, I've got to be honest. He'll be around some of the best coaching in the world, the facilities you have. And for me, leading up to the Euro squad, I think that's just going to boost his game. Even if he's not playing, I think he will get some game time. Because like you say, all it takes is one injury, a loss of form in one of your centre-backs, which will most likely happen. And he will get into the squads. And even if it's just cup games, and then I think he will boost onto another level. What do you think about that, Ben?
I feel like I've seen, I know I'm a Championship fan. I feel like I've seen him play for Swansea enough to have a valid opinion on him. I think he's a great defender, and I think he can start playing for Spurs on a regular basis. Got to give him some time, but he will be starting for Spurs come the end of the season. I reckon he'll be in that starting 11. I think.
Jack, about the price. Obviously, it's a low price. How much was it in the end? Was it like 15?
11 million.
7, and then add on. What do you think about the price for such an experienced Championship defender like Rodon?
I think it was a bit of a steal for Spurs, honestly. In my opinion, I don't think it was the best move for him, although you do say that he will be playing with better players. The facilities will be better for him, but I don't know. I think game time at Swansea would have been better for him running up to the Euros because he is a brilliant centre-back, but I don't know. But as you said, one injury, he could be in the starting 11 for Spurs, which I would really like to see that. I would like to see him have quite a bit of game time for Spurs. But for the price, I think it's a bit of a steal. Honestly, I think Swansea could have got a bit more out of him, but it is what it is now. So a steal for Spurs, I think.
In the current transfer market, that price for such an experienced defender, I think Swansea have been stolen a bit there.
Yeah.
I think he could have at least been sold for 25 million tops. Well, even more than that. But I'll just talk about one more signing, and it is the big Kieffer Moore. Joined for Cardiff City. Ben, obviously big Cardiff fan. What do you think?
Yeah. Already got 2 goals for us, both in the same game. Hasn't scored in the last game we played, but he's the type of striker I would have wanted us to have signed this summer, and we did get him. And I just think he's a good signing. I think he will do well for us. I think he'll get a lot more than 2 goals this season. So yeah, happy with the signing.
Jack, you the same with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think with his height and his strength, he'd be brilliant up top because for Cardiff, I don't think we've really had a striker that stands out and is in every game in the starting 11, and you think he's going to score. So I think it's brilliant that Moore's in the team now, and I think this season, hopefully again, he'll have a brilliant season, and for the Euros, even better.
Lee and Tom, last question on this. Do you think he's nailed on for a Euro starting place? Obviously, there's a lack of options up top for Wales at the moment. You have Hal Robson-Kanu, who is obviously ruled out with a broken arm. But do you think he's nailed on for the Euros, despite the season he has at Cardiff?
For me, yes. Because even though you had a very good tournament in 2016, I wouldn't say you had an out-and-out striker. You had Robson-Kanu, obviously, but I still don't picture him as an out-and-out striker. Whereas Kieffer Moore, I think he is that one you need. And that allows players like Bale, Dan James, Harry Wilson, David Brooks a bit more freedom behind him and just to create some great chances. And I think if he gets given a chance, he will score. He's just that type of player who will score, I think, in the important moments.
Yeah, unless we play Bale up front, I can't really see anybody else in and around the squad taking Kieffer's place up front, because you look at Robson-Kanu, he's probably better coming off the bench with like 20 minutes left. Sam Vokes is another one, same similar position. And then other than that, you've not really got any out-and-out strikers. Tyler Roberts can play up there, but would you want to start him? Probably not, no. So, yeah, unless Bale's up front, then for me it's Kieffer every day.
For me, big Kieffer with the beautiful haircut. He's scored at least 15 goals this season, taking Cardiff into the top 6, taking Cardiff back to the big time, and he will be taking us to the Euro final. Mark my words, boys. Anyway, that's all the transfer news for this week. Lee, have you got a question?
Yes. So, boys, if you could name your Wales starting 11 right now, what would it be? Because you've seen in the internationals, you didn't have Bale, you didn't have Ramsey. Was there any players that stood out and should be started? I'll start with you, Ben Thomas.
Ben Thomas. I think we should start with Ben Evans. I know he is very opinionated on this matter. Go on, Ben. Run me through your starting 11.
All right, straight off the back, as quick as I can. Wayne Hennessy, of course, number 1. Centre-backs for me, Chris Metham, and I would start Ampadu at centre-back for now, but that could change if Rodon's playing more, or even Cabango maybe. So I'd start those 2. Left-back Ben Davis all day, every day. even if he's not, even if he's not going to play that much at Spurs this year, still starts. The right back for now, I still think Connor Roberts is more experienced. But come the Euros, Nico Williams is. I'd be surprised if he's not starting, and that could change very easily. But that's what I'm doing at the moment. 3-man midfield of Ramsey, if Alan's fit, Alan, but I feel like maybe not. So possibly Morel, because I've seen him. Yeah, he's just signed for Luton as well, so I think he'll get more game time. At Cam, I'd put Wilson. It was between him and Brooks. At the moment, I put Wilson. And then Kieffer up front, Bale on the right. And I swap between them as well, but I still start Dan James. I think when he plays for Wales, I think he's a starter for us.
Tom, what do you think about that?
So you put a lot of faces there.
Yeah, there's a couple of ones that I definitely don't agree with you. Hennessy in goal, obviously. No one really comes close. I'd go for Metham, probably Joe Rodon at centre-back. Ben Davies at left-back, obviously. And I'd go for Nico Williams at right-back, just to give him the experience for the Euros so that he's ready. Alan, if he's fit, and probably Ramsey. If not, then I'd go Ampadu and Ramsey as the two. And then David Brooks behind Kieffer with Bale and Harry Wilson.
I would agree with that squad. I'd look to maybe bring in Will Vokes, because obviously he's had a cracking last season for Cardiff City, and I don't know why Giggs is keeping him out, because he did have a brilliant season. And like you say, probably have to go with Nico Williams at right back instead of Connor Roberts, because Nico Williams looks ready. He looks ready to go into a team already.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Williams, I'd be very surprised if he's not. If we're talking right now, though, that's just what I think.
Would you not put him into the squad to get him ready for the Euros?
Oh yeah, I would. I'm sure that's exactly what Giggs will do. But if we're talking the best Wales team right now, I just think Connor Roberts is just like reliable and he'll do what he has to do.
Jack, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with Tom, honestly. It'd be very similar to what he thinks. I'd love to see Alan fit for the Euros. Obviously, we don't know, but yeah, obviously, debating about this, I would go with Nico as well. Simple as, Ben. But yeah, very similar to Tom's.
Right, boys.
2 more questions for you.
Oh, 2 more. Oh, you're treating us today, Lee. Go on.
So, first one, quite controversial. Do you think Giggs is the right man to manage the Wales team?
This is a podcast in itself. Wow.
That is a full podcast.
Quick answer, yes or no?
No.
No.
For now, yes.
No, I don't know.
Interesting.
We'll have to do a full podcast on that. That can be a full podcast in one. That's next week's podcast. There we are. We've got that one. What's your other question, Lee?
Next one. Obviously, you had an amazing Euro 2016. Do you think you'll go one better, or do you think you'll struggle more this year? Next year.
I think we'll
Bearing in
struggle.
mind we know our group.
Yeah, I think we'll struggle. I can't see us getting to the semis. I think we won't have a bad tournament. I think we can get through the group stages, but in terms of semi-finals, I don't think we'll be able to top that 2016 one. That was just amazing, and I don't think that'll be beaten by any UK club international.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have one like IU.
I think we'll probably get into the knockout stages. I can see us possibly getting as far as the quarterfinals, but a lot of it depends on what we do in the centre of defence, because if we defend like we did against England, then we're going out in the group stages.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we got time for on today's The One, The Only Welsh Watch podcast. If you want to check all our socials, it'll be on the screen somewhere here. Get in contact with us. If you have any opinions on today's matter, then let us know. But I was your host, Ben Thomas. Lee.
Thank you all for joining us. See you next week.
Tom.
Yeah, see you next week, guys. Cheers.
Ben. Jack?
See you in the next episode, guys.
Yeah, see you next week. We'll be back. Goodbye.